How is everybody doing today? My name is Master Zero, and in today's video, we're reacting to The Paradox Paradox by Vsause. Alright, so shout out to SaddleBag for the suggestion. Thank you so much. He actually suggested Vsause as a whole channel for me. So I was scrolling around his videos and stuff, and then I came across this one, The Paradox Paradox, and it had little like hashtag time travel and stuff, and like that stuff it's amazing. Like just like questioning like time travel, like kind of like Avengers Endgame and stuff like that. It's like, what's actually true in time travel? Like, if it was an actual thing, like do you go back in time and change history, or when you go back in time it's a completely different reality? Like, stuff like that really intrigues me. So I'm really hoping that this video kind of does the same exact thing, but I'm really excited nonetheless. So without any further ado, here is The Paradox Paradox by Vsause. Wait a minute. This is like a Stranger Things opening. But it's original.
Vsause, I'm Jake, and if you could go back in time and stop yourself from being born, would you? Or should I say, can you? Because if you went back in time to stop yourself from being born,
I think it's exactly what I was talking about.
Go back in time and stop yourself from being born. It's the retro suicide paradox, where it's something that
kind of like the butterfly effect, that deleted scene.
It's something that you can complete, just like I can go to the store to buy an avocado, but it doesn't mean I'll actually leave the store with one. For time travel, the timeline self-corrects in a way. But actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's travel back to the beginning.
Clever.
Vsause, I'm Jake, and time travel is a paradox itself, which means that any paradox created by the idea of time travel is a paradox in a paradox. It's the
oh my, he's going deep.
Paradox. Allow me to explain. With the retro suicide paradox, the idea is that things that have happened in the past are fixed points. They cannot be changed because changing them would change all of time coming after that past event.
And then it just
going back in time
crumbles.
There would be no way to follow through with killing your younger self. But that's only if we assume that time is one straight line, where the past dictates the present.
See, I don't think it's a straight line at all.
The present would also dictate the past. It's a self-fulfilling cycle.
And it's so confusing. And that is beautiful.
We can travel in any direction of space, but can we travel in any direction in time? Australia and China both exist, even though they don't exist right here with me in this location. So one could argue that yesterday and tomorrow exist, even though they don't exist right here, right now.
Dude, this guy's going really deep.
Don't exist. I can't revisit yesterday, and I can't skip forward into tomorrow. Changing the hands
I mean,
on
you
a
technically
clock
can, right?
Personal time, but not external time. External time is the rate at which time moves, which is a constant, consistent rate. When it comes to time being relative,
I'm really enjoying this. I don't know if you could tell.
If you slow down the rate of your body to such a degree that every function of your being were affected, from your perspective, people would be whizzing by. But from everyone else's perspective, you would look frozen. However, external time is still moving at the same rate. It's just your perception that feels different. It is the time discrepancy paradox, where there has to be a difference between time and time, which we know there isn't. And in most time travel stories, it works like this. Subject A leaves point A and immediately goes back in time to point B.
Yes.
Then after doing what they need to do, they come back to point A.
Yes.
But this is where another more sinister paradox is created. If we go back to this timeline, when subject A goes back in time, only they go back. The version of them in the past, subject A2, is still moving towards point A when they go back in time, which means they have created a closed time loop. If subject A travels back to right when they left point A, subject A2 will already be going back to point B.
Oh my goodness.
That instance will occur forever. So every time you travel through time, you will always be creating a loop, no matter if you go into the past or if you go into the future. Because you right now are time traveling, but you a day ago, you a year ago, isn't. That you is still moving up on the timeline to that fixed point you created, point A. So it also begs the question, does that mean that if you left that timeline at point A and went to the past, would you not exist in the present and moving forward, or in the future.
Uh-huh.
Time doesn't stop just because you aren't there. So instead of continuing your timeline, you've now imprisoned yourself or yourselves into a loop. It creates an infinite amount of you that resets every time you hit point A, because you take you in that moment in time.
See, this is why I believe in the multi-theory or multi-universe dimension, whatever you want to call it.
More than one of your current
because it's so
self.
much easier
We
to
think of
understand.
ourselves as oneself. Also, side note, this brings up an additional paradox, which is the paradox of freedom. Let's say, like in our scenario above, you, subject A, travel back in time from point A, thus creating a closed time loop where a version of you will always go back in time once they reach point A.
Okay.
You think that you were the one to choose to go back in time at that specific moment. But were you? If it is a closed time loop, then you might not be subject A, but more statistically possible is that you are subject A20 or A5000.
Dang.
So even though you felt like you had the freedom to choose that decision, it
was
had
already
been
chosen.
decided for you.
Wow.
Okay, let's go back to that timeline and imagine something different.
Okay.
The most likely scenario
there we
is
go.
that only the present exists. The past is gone and the future has yet to be written. But as I mentioned earlier, the past has been written, so it could be that the past and present exist, but not the future. In this scenario, you could go back in time, since the past did, by all accounts, happen. You just wouldn't be able to change it. But if that were true, then so would the third scenario, which is most commonly thought of when thinking about time travel. That the past, present, and future all exist, and you can travel to any of them. But if this is true, then that means that all three, past, present, future, are happening concurrently. Think of it as three timelines running on top of one another.
Okay, I didn't think of
when you
it
go
that
forward
way.
in time, it isn't on your timeline. It is on the timeline above you. And if you want to go into the past from the future, you'd intersect with the present, with your timeline.
Huh.
It's important to note that if you left the present to go into the future, you are now gone. So if you spend a week in the future, there is a week in the present where you just don't exist anymore.
I think that's kind of like the movies, like how they represent
One of my
time
favorite thought
travel.
experiments about time travel is this.
An awesome dance party?
If time travel were to exist, then it has always existed, as the physical machine can exist at all points in time. So even if it were invented 100 years from now, it still exists now, and since the beginning of time. And it is important to remember, even in the three timelines theory, that if you went back in time, you can see the past, but you can't interact with it. You can't change it because it would still disrupt the present and future timelines. However, there is another theory that allows time travel to not be a paradox, and by doing so,
Can we talk
it
about
also
my
makes it so
theory?
no time travel paradox would be
So you gonna talk about mine?
paradoxical. Now, in this theory, if we revisit the first paradox we talked about, the retro-suicide paradox, you'd go back in time and you could in fact kill your younger self, and you would no longer exist on that timeline. But by doing that act, the timeline splits.
Yes!
So what was timeline 1 creates a timeline 2. Timeline 1 has you go back in time and commit retro-suicide, while timeline 2 continues on as normal. Time has still self-corrected itself by making a new copy of events as they were supposed to be. That's timeline 2, not as you made them, timeline 1.
Yeah.
If this were true, we could be living on any one of these timelines, a fracture from the time we knew.
It drives me so
to one we
crazy
think we know,
to
but
think
we
about
have
stuff
no
like this.
idea either way. That means that there are multiple timelines, an analogy in a sense for the multiverse theory, that there are parallel universes, and each time we travel through time, we aren't actually moving through three
I love it so
concurrent
much.
timelines, or new timelines are being created, but actually, we're traveling to a different universe that is similar to our own.
Yes.
And if that's the case, I need to keep traveling until I find the right one. And as always, thanks for watching.
Is it already over? It's not already over. Alright, so, that was amazing. That was everything I'd hoped it would be, just by, using my big brain and, strategically thinking what this video might be about. But, I love this. I love this topic so much, just because I'm huge into comics, and, like, obviously comics do that all the time. How it's just, like, your actions, like, they split off into different versions of you, different versions of your friends, different versions of the world, like, the universe, everything. Like, you don't know what, like, your choice. Let's say if I were to pick up this card, Like, what if a different version of me didn't pick that card up? But just something as simple as that just changes everything dramatically. And the timeline that I didn't pick up the card, something crazy happens, and then the world ends. Like, you don't know, and it's so interesting to think about, and I am so excited right now talking about it. But I love it. I love stuff like that. It intrigues me. It makes me babble total nonsense like for days, and I love it so much. But yes, that SaddleBag, that was a very good suggestion for me, even though you technically didn't suggest the video to me, but you did say there was videos on there that I would really enjoy, and I'm so happy I picked this one because that was amazing. And I am for sure gonna react to the next one when it comes out. Question mark, is it out already? Maybe. If it is, then that's probably gonna be my next video. But that was really, really awesome, like seriously. But a little side note before I end my video, I am still doing the Q&A video, so please do anything you can to get a hold of me. Like, I talked about my email, the comments, like everything. It's all going to be in the description down below, and obviously the comments aren't going anywhere. Just hit me up with a little comment if you want, with what you want me to answer. But it could be literally anything, but like, let's keep it like PG-13. Cool. But yeah. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like down below because it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more awesome videos like this one. So with that said, I have been Master Zero. Y'all guys have been fantastic, and I will see y'all in the next episode. Later days.